Here we go. So we'll start in the NFC North. So last place last year was the Detroit Lions. They got better, but they're still pretenders. Obviously, they traded Darius Slay in one of the worst moves of the offseason, only getting him for a 3rd and 5th round pick, which was absolutely crazy. They replaced him with Desmond Trufant, the alleged best corner in football, even though he's not even close.
Good job, Mike.
So
that's Tyler. Oh, by the way, Tyler, where are you, man? I haven't heard from you. You haven't called the show.
So they tried to replace his production with that and drafted Jeff Okudah 3rd overall, which, again, maybe that could create a nice tandem, but none of them are Darius Slay. They're still
Tyler,
pretenders.
you're an idiot.
Still pretenders for now.
Sorry.
Stafford might be on his way out at the end of the year. Chicago Bears, another team that had a questionable offseason, one of the worst drafts in my opinion. They really just recycled a lot of defensive parts. I don't think they really got better in any areas. I like Jimmy Graham in terms of a scheme fit for Matt Nagy's offense, but they have a ton of tight ends on the roster anyway. I don't know how much you'll end up playing in terms of snap count anyway. They're still pretenders to me, in my opinion. They're not going to be terrible like they were last year, but they'll be still a fringe playoff team, and I'm still going on the end of no for them. The Vikings, this will surprise you. I think they're pretenders. I think they lost too much for my liking, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They replaced it with Ngakwe in terms of Everson Griffin, but again, we have to see in the first year of a new defense how he will fare out. That secondary concerns me a lot. You've got Harrison Smith, who's still one of the best safeties in football, but those corners are not good at all. You're trusting a rookie and Jeff Gladney really to take on the #1 role. And again, who else do they have beyond that? Undrafted guy in Holton Hill from a couple of years ago. They really don't have much on that in that secondary. And Eric Kendricks, if he does play well and have the coverage year, maybe that'll help out, but beyond that, still questionable. They lost Diggs, so now you're replacing a receiver with a rookie receiver, and they never do well in back-to-back years, so I'm going to call them pretenders as well, surprisingly, even though I liked them last year. And the Packers, they will still be contenders. Yes, Aaron Rodgers, they will be underestimated throughout the year, but they'll still be contenders. They didn't lose much in the offseason. They bring in Christian Kirksey as a nice linebacker. Their draft was iffy, but
I like their draft.
You do, yeah. I know you like Jordan Love, which is,
and that's all you need. You need a guy that's going to fill in for Aaron Rodgers
for the future. Yeah, I like it too for the future. I'm just saying for the present, it's not great in terms of improving. So I think they'll regress a little, but they'll still win the division. They'll still be a playoff team and definitely a contender.
All right, the Detroit Lions, a team that I don't expect to win this year, a team that is all over the place. We don't know who their coach is going to be after this year. Matthew Stafford looks like he wants to be out of there. Trufant is now filling in for Slay now that Slay is playing for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think this team is like in turmoil right now. I don't know where this team is going, but then again, we don't know where the Detroit Lions were going to go anyways, because this is an organization and a team that's never won and haven't won in years. I mean, they've been one of the worst teams in the NFL for the last, 30 years. And when we talk about Barry Sanders, they haven't had a running back that good in a very, very long time, too. So
they've only won one playoff game.
Calvin Johnson was their last big-time superstar, and Matthew Stafford's on his way out. He'll probably go to the Patriots and win a couple of Super Bowls. The Chicago Bears. Now, I like the Chicago. And by the way, Detroit Lions are pretenders. The Chicago Bears, I think they're contenders this year. And I'll tell you why. I like Matt Nagy. I think he's a very good head coach. He had a bad season last year. I like their defense. I think their defense is explosive. They had to recharge their defense. They lost Leonard in the offseason. I think they still have a good linebacking core. Khalil Mack is a beast. This is a great front seven. Their secondary is questionable. I want to see what this secondary is going to do this year with some of the young players that they're going to add into the secondary. So they're questionable. But I like their offense. I think their offense will be explosive with Mitchell Trubisky. I know a lot of people don't like Mitch. He won the job, and he deserves the job. And I think if you look at his numbers, you compare him to Deshaun Watson, and you compare him to Patrick Mahomes, besides last year, their numbers are very similar. So I like Mitchell Trubisky. So I'm going to say they're contenders. Minnesota, they're a contender this year. Kirk Cousins got a 2-year extension. I mean, adding players in the offseason the way they did. Who did they add? The big name that they just had? Ngakwe. They're adding a pass rusher that they're not going to be able to afford after the season. They gave him a 2nd and a 5th round, and possibly a 3rd round if they go all the way to the Super Bowl. Right. So I don't think they're going to be able to save him or keep him if he gets 12 or 13 sacks because he's going to want $100 million. But Minnesota is a very talented team, very good defensively. They have one of the best secondaries, one of the most underrated secondaries in the league, even losing 2 of their corners in the offseason. And I like their offense. I think their offense is very explosive. They get rid of the cancer that went to Buffalo. I think Thielen is going to be a big part. If he can stay on the field, he's going to be one of the best wide receivers. And if you have him in your PPR league, you draft him in the 1st or 2nd round. Thielen is going to have an explosive year. He's going to be one of the best wide receivers in the league if he stays healthy. They're contenders. And the Green Bay Packers, they're contenders. They're always going to be contenders as long as Aaron Rodgers is healthy. I think this defense is going to be explosive again this year. The question is this offensive line that's really getting rebuilt right on the fly, are they going to be able to protect Aaron Rodgers in the pocket? Aaron Rodgers is getting old. He's broken his clavicle twice. I hope he could stay healthy enough to get this team in the playoffs, because anything can happen in the playoffs, especially with Aaron Rodgers, as good as he is in the playoffs and what we've seen, unbelievable throws that we've seen over the years him make in the playoffs. So I like Green Bay too. So they got 3 contenders in the division.
All right, on to the South. Carolina Panthers, they're still pretenders for now. I like their offense. I think their offense will end up working with Matt Rule. College-style offense, a lot of hybrid-type players. Obviously, they got the best running back in football in Christian McCaffrey, who was an MVP candidate last year. They got some nice receivers with DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel. And their offensive line is still not bad. It's not great. Trading Trey Turner in the offseason was weird. And then they got Teddy Bridgewater, who I think is out to prove something, that he could be a starting quarterback in this league. The problem is they just lost too much on defense. Their defense got depleted badly. They still have Shaq Thompson, who's nice, and they still have Kawan Short, that's nice. But beyond that, they really lost everything. And I didn't really like their draft, so I think they're going to still be rebuilding. I think they'll be better than people think. A lot of people think they're going to be 3-13 or something like that. I can't see that. I think they'll still be like 6-10, 7-9, but they're still pretenders for this year. Tampa Bay, they'll be contenders. There's no doubt about that. They'll be contenders. Whether they make it or not is still another question, but they will definitely be in the running for a playoff spot. I think it'll be more like a wild card spot for them, because their defense is still questionable in the secondary. A lot of young corners, but they did play better in the second half of the season, and that's a good sign for them, getting adjusted to Todd Bowles' defense. Obviously, they got all the skill players in the world on that offensive side of the ball, especially now bringing in Fournette. Obviously, we've talked about it a lot. The offensive line will be a big question mark for them, and that could hurt them against some good pass rushes in certain matchups, but they will still be contenders. I see them as a wild card team. The Atlanta Falcons, they're contenders as well. I have them as that last extra wild card team that they just added this year, the 7th playoff team. They're another team like the Vikings that lost a lot on defense, so that does scare me. But they did play well in the second half of the season with a lot of those younger players, so that is also a promising sign for them. They bring in Todd Gurley. We'll see if he can stay healthy, but if he does, he's obviously very productive when he does. And the Falcons' offensive line, even when Gurley was healthy with the Rams, is better than any line the Rams had when he was there. So I think he'll be productive if he's healthy. Receivers are still nice. Matt Ryan is still nice. And I think they'll be a playoff team, probably like a 9-7 type team as the last wild card team. And the Saints, they're the best team in football, no doubt about that.
Best team in football?
I think so. I mean, you want to argue the Ravens, fine, but I don't really know who else you can argue besides that. In terms of talent, just all-around talent on that team, there's really no weaknesses that are that bad. If you want to say their secondary is a little questionable, okay, but beyond that, they really don't have much weaknesses at all on that team, assuming they don't trade Alvin Kamara. If they trade Alvin Kamara, that's a different story, but I think they'll lock him up sooner rather than later. The Saints will be, I think, the number 1 seed in the NFC. Just a matter of if they can finally get to the Super Bowl and not get screwed by the referees.
Really? Is that what you think? They're going to get screwed by the referees?
No, I don't.
I
think if that's the case, they should have the whole crew changed or something like that if that happens again to the New Orleans Saints, because they really do not deserve that.
All right, so we got the Carolina Panthers. They're going to be a terrible team this year. I think they're a rebuilding team. I like their defense. Their defense is going to be interesting. They have 2 good young wide receivers that are going to be explosive this year. The question is Teddy Bridgewater going to stay healthy? Is he going to make the plays that we've seen Cam Newton over the years do? I don't know if he is Cam Newton. Cam Newton's going to be explosive with the Patriots. The question is this team going to be explosive? They have a young running back. They're going to try to run the ball a lot in this offense. And you know what their coach is all about. He likes to spread out the offense. That's what he comes from over there in Baylor. So I'm going to be very intrigued to see what he is in Mike Rule and what he's going to do this year as the new head coach of the Carolina Panthers. So they're pretenders. Tampa Bay Buccaneers is very highly overrated. I don't want to hear about how talented their team is. We see their roster. They got Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, John Franklin, Ronald Jones, LaShawn McCoy. Oh, and by the way, Leonard Fournette. This is a very talented team. But you know what? Talent doesn't always win ball games, and Tom Brady does not have an offensive line. You could tell me about the Worth kid that they brought in the first round. That's great. That's awesome. But this was one of the worst offensive lines in the league. They were ranked second worst in the league last year, right in front of the Jets, and then the year before that they were ranked the worst. So this is a bad offensive line, and Tom Brady, who's not a guy that gets out of the pocket, he stays in the pocket, is going to be beaten up this year if this offensive line doesn't save him, and he's not going to have any time to throw the ball. So I think they're contenders. They're a wild card team. I don't know if they're Super Bowl contenders. I really don't think they are. They're in a very good division, probably the best division in football. The Atlanta Falcons are going to be very good this year. I think they could be dangerous this year. If the defense can stay healthy, they added some good young defensive players, and Todd Gurley, who I think is going to have an explosive year behind this offensive line. Say whatever you want. The Rams' offensive line is nowhere close to this offensive line. When healthy, this is one of the best offensive lines in the league. He's going to be able to run. He's going to be able to power run, and he's going to be able to run on the outside, on the edges. Julio Jones is going to have an explosive year. Matt Ryan, watch out, and I will say this. Watch out for Calvin Ridley, guys. He had a bad season last year. If you have him on your fantasy PPR league, this kid could be explosive. He might have better numbers than Julio Jones by the end of the season. That's how good I think Calvin Ridley could be this year. Dante Fowler added to the team. This is going to be an explosive team on the edge. They're going to be able to do things inside and out. This is a great defensive team if they stay healthy. So I love them. They're a contender if they stay healthy. And the New Orleans Saints. This is Drew Brees last year. It's no question that it is. Alvin Kamara might be on his way out. They're talking about trading, which makes absolutely no sense. When the the offense is run through him as much as it is through Michael Thomas. It makes no sense. Jameis Winston could be the backup quarterback. It could be the future quarterback of this organization moving forward. Or it could be Hill. I think Taysom Hill could actually win the quarterback job if anything happens to Drew Brees this year. Malcolm Jenkins, one of the best safeties, one of the most oldest veteran safeties in the league. He speaks a lot off the field, but he plays the game very hard. I think this defense is one of the best defenses in the league, one of the best offensive lines in the league, and probably the best special teams team in football. This is the best all-around team in football. Might not be the best team in football, but I like the Saints. They're definitely contenders. So we did our contenders and pretenders for this season.
So I guess, if you were to pick the three wild cards and the 4 divisional winners, who would they be from each division?
Wild card teams?
Yeah.
I like the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay.
I like Tampa Bay. I like Tampa and Minnesota.
Okay.
I think Seattle is out. I think the Rams are out. Arizona's not going to make it. Detroit's not going to make it. Chicago will be a borderline team. They could actually jump Minnesota if they have a good season.
Okay.
Carolina's out. That's it. I think 3 teams from the NFC South will make it.
Okay, so I'm assuming you have the same division winners as me, Saints, Eagles, 49ers, and Packers?
Yes.
Okay, so the only difference we have is I have Arizona in instead of Minnesota. So, all right. Interesting.
Hold on. Carl just said something. I'm reading what he said. Can you afford paying Thomas and Kamara top dollar? That's a good question, Carl. You know what it is Alvin Kamara, what is he asking for? He's asking for between $10 and $13 million. Does he deserve that? Well, in the last 2 seasons, he's been the best or the second best running back in football. Very underrated because he plays behind Drew Brees and that offensive line. And Michael Thomas is an explosive wide receiver that's looking like he's the best wide receiver in football. You can argue DeAndre Hopkins or him. These two are the best players, the best all-around. The reason why I would take DeAndre Hopkins over Michael Thomas is because DeAndre Hopkins plays hurt. He plays hurt. He's always playing. And it doesn't matter if he has a broken finger, broken toe. He's on the field. He plays hurt. He doesn't make excuses. Michael Thomas, in the last 3 years, he's been hurt a couple of times. He hasn't played in a couple of games. Jammed finger, whatever. Hurt elbow. He's had his problems staying on the field. But all in all, he's played most of the majority of his games in his career. But DeAndre Hopkins is a guy that stays in the game and plays hard. So Aaron Davis says, so instead of compensating his eyesight issues, BA forces him to keep throwing down the field with no running game help, no O-line help. So what is he talking about?
So for Jameis Winston last year, Bruce Arians.
Who is BA? Bruce Arians. Okay, all right.
But I mean, you're limiting his capabilities then if you don't let him throw down the field, and you're limiting the capabilities of Arians' offense. That's a big part of his offense.
Here's the thing. I like Jameis Winston. I think he's a great quarterback, but I don't think he's an NFL quarterback until proven otherwise. So when Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston, I'm a Florida State fan. I didn't think Jameis Winston was going to be a good quarterback in this league, and I didn't think Marcus Mariota was going to be a good quarterback in this league. That quarterback class, if you look from top to bottom, was one of the worst quarterback classes we've seen in a very long time.